what it's like. Hello. I was trying to come up with something different, Fletcher. Like
Yeah, I
would it
don't
be
know.
like? Would it be
Yeah,
like?
I don't know if what it's like is.
I
Yeah,
know it
we'll,
just
we'll
didn't
play with that.
it didn't
We'll
come
play
out
with that.
right. It didn't come out right.
No, it's all right. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. It's
Oh,
you
bummer.
know, early bird gets the intro thing or something. So it's
Okay.
okay. It's all right. So you sent me this morning. You sent me a few the stories this morning. So why don't we rapid fire into these so far? So this one's the first one. It says Kamala attempt to look like a crisis manager just imploded. So this is from Town Hall, and it says Kamala Harris desperate to show she's capable, strong leader instead of the bumbling, cackling word salad cafeteria server we've seen for weeks. Man,
Oh,
they don't pull punches, huh?
they're not pulling any punches here.
Yeah, it's like watching somebody pull out a driveway in a car with shoddy brakes. You know there will be a crash at every turn.
Oh
Up
my
to demons of
goodness.
her 2020 campaign, and these
Yikes.
responses you heard in Milton and Helen perfectly capture a woman out of her depth. So we're doing the briefing on Milton, which slammed into Florida last night. The vice president caught on a hot mic moment, telling staffers who were feeding her questions that it's a live broadcast.
Is
Kamala
that
tried to cover
embarrassing?
her
Is
mouth.
that
Yeah,
embarrassing, Fletcher? That's embarrassing, Fletcher.
that's just a gaff, right? I mean,
flood. We really got to watch those areas and those
Look at her
communities.
cover her
So
mouth.
it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
Thank you very much.
Did you wait? I
Hey,
think I
Ken, I have
talked
a
over the
question for
part.
you.
I think I talked
mentioned
over the part, Fletch.
did you? What
I
was-
think I talked over the part where she's talking to someone in her ear.
Okay, all right. Let's see.
Flood. We really got to watch those areas and those communities. So it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
Thank you
Did you
very
hear
much.
that?
No,
Hey,
all
Ken,
hear
I have
that?
a question for you. You mentioned words matter, and I know there's a lot of media following this briefing.
Fletcher, I don't know if you heard that, but honestly, what she said, which many people heard, was, "Oh, it's a live broadcast." That she was telling someone, maybe
Oh.
even snapping at them, to let them know you got to come faster with this stuff, man, because this is a live broadcast, and she's covering her mouth so awkwardly. It's so obvious. And honestly, all she has to do for this situation is ask questions. So
right.
you're telling us, Vice President Harris, that you're not comfortable actually asking even your own questions? That
Right.
doesn't really inspire confidence, especially during a crisis.
No, it's a little bit of a gaff on this one. I mean, I can't see it, so it's I'll have to take their word for it, but it does seem like there's a bit of a miscommunication on that one. So, and this is an official call, right? So, uh, uh so I guess the clumsy attempt to be discreet. She's got a hot mic, all right, on the live broadcast. It's a bit of a so.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
hot
my
mic moment
apologies.
that's not working. It's a hot mic
Yeah,
moment that's not working. But this is not new for her. I mean, she's not good on her feet. We've seen in an earlier situation this week, or maybe it was last week, where her teleprompter went out and
yeah,
she stood there for, what seemed like an awkward set of moments in which she had nothing to say and kind of repeated, got quiet. She looked a little angry. Everyone could see the teleprompter had gone out. Other people who are more, wise in speakers say that happens. In fact, I think former President Trump did comment on it because he probably saw the footage as well and said something like, "Look, they do go out. You've got to be on your own feet. You can't." And that's a fact. I mean, so we could see that she's not fully prepared for this game. All right, what you got for us next?
right. Well, you were talking about that, and you had sent me that. So this is the 60-minute edits. Co- oh no, this is the 60-minute ones, and I guess they removed some of her gibberish uh from the from the from the interview. So this is basically the CBS broadcast that edited the version of the answer as well as updated the manipulated version on their YouTube account. Yet the same media's outlet is decries the use of deep fakes. So I guess this is part of a video on it.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Wow.
Wow. We both
That was
are at
a great edit.
we're at a collective wow. That is a great edit. Thank you for bringing that to us, Fletcher. Well, here's the thing. The second answer was much better. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Do you agree that's a better answer?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I guess the thing is, CBS has really, is this CBS or 60 Minutes?
60 Minutes. Yes.
Okay. Well, I think CBS also has done this, but 60 Minutes has shown that they are in for one candidate over the other and are willing to abandon their journalistic integrity in order to support that person. And no matter what you feel about Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, you can't think it's okay for journalists to play dirty tricks and help one candidate or another or make one look worse than another. They're not supposed to be up there cutting and pasting and creating realities. They're supposed to be presenting objectively what the situation is and then letting us know and be very clear when they're actually commenting. This is the mess. This journalism is just shocking.
No, that's insane.
Shocking. It's shocking to do that, to edit her answers when she's running for president, and we're looking to you as a mainstream media outlet to give us the facts. Here's what she answered. And for you to, I mean, I can understand some basic things like, perhaps there was some ums and ahs, perhaps there was a part in which maybe it veered off, or there was some part that's maybe off the record, or I'm not saying there can't be any edits, but to edit it to that extent, you made it a different interview, and that's dishonest. I don't see how that has any journalistic integrity. And anybody who thinks differently, think about why you feel that way. It's probably because you want Vice President Harris to win, and you don't care how we get there. But if you care about democracy, if you care about our country, then you have to care about the standards of journalism. That's what helps ensure it, that you get truthful reporting. And editing her answers to that extent is not truthful.
Yeah, it does seem so. It makes her come off, desperate and weak. So you're not even achieving what you want to do, right? You're not even getting your objective, which is to obviously make her look better than she's sounding. So, yeah, fully agree with you, because it doesn't seem that it's not a good look, right? It's not a good look when you get caught. So
it's definitely not a good look when you get caught. But even if you're not caught, if you're a journalist, I'm not saying journalists have to be saints, but they do have to be better than this. It's not okay to edit her answers. We're all trying to decide. I mean, obviously, a lot of us have made our minds up, but we're all theoretically, at least, trying to decide for whom we should cast our vote for president. You're not helping us if you lie to us about what they say and do, especially when they're talking in public in an area that really relates to the election. This is not just her having dinner with her friends and someone, maybe overheard it and did something. This is her addressing the nation. Isn't it called Face the Nation? That's the name of it. So you're facing us.
That's the name of the show,
yeah. Please don't edit what she's saying in any substantive content way, so that we don't actually know what she's saying. How can that be acceptable? I don't know why more people aren't outraged. I feel like I'm the only one here outraged. I don't even think you're outraged, 60 minutes. Fletcher, you're not outraged. You sound like,
I don't 60 Minutes anymore. I don't watch 60 Minutes anymore. This all these mainstream media, I literally watch snippets of it because it's so disingenuous. And this to me was a shocking that they actually, you know, released this whole thing the way that it was. Because if you heard her earlier, it just sounds all gobbledygook, even with the editing. So I
No, it wasn't bad with the editing.
no. There was another question. This wasn't the only question. This was just the question they got, like a copy of the somebody got a copy of the actual answer, right?
Oh, okay.
During the interview, if you watch more of the interview, it's just, I mean, there's a reason there's TikToks and all kinds of stuff of even little kids and older folks just, doing the Kamala word salad thing, to where somebody asks them a question and it's like, hey, blah, 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 what are you doing this week? And it's like, I had a family. I come from a middle class family, and it was a little bit of a joke on. I don't, I think part of it is because you have this attachment to 60 Minutes, knowing that it's like, man, 60 Minutes, that was where, they would break down the news for you, and you would be like, man, these people are on point. And I think they lost
I don't
that.
know if I still have the attachment, but I definitely still have, I had some feeling of admiration, a sense of, well, they're doing something good in the world, even if I don't watch anymore like you, Fletcher. I don't watch it anymore. I mean, how many people watch that stuff now? Because we have
I
the
don't even
internet.
know. Yeah.
But enough people that is still, I think, journalistic malpractice for you to edit her interview to that extent. And yeah, I'm actually shocked by it. I don't expect them to do something like that. But you know what? People have been saying this for years. In fact, even when I was in college and I didn't see it at all, I remember someone at the dining room table saying something like, well, you can't trust the news because they're so dishonest and it's very slanted. And I thought they were, at that point, I thought they were conspiracy theorists. I'm like, are you crazy? Why would you say
Yeah.
that? They're just
Yeah.
giving you the news. They're not slanting it. They're just telling you what it is. And I remember this particular guy who's, I guess, ahead of his time looking at me like, you poor soul. And I guess,
Yeah.
well, I didn't know at the time. He didn't bother to explain. That's why we're here, you guys. We're here trying to show you. I mean, we just showed you how they are dishonest. So I can see why my youthful college self thought the news was honest, because if I just see that second interview, I would just think, well, she answered the question. What's dishonest? They asked her a question, she answered it. But if you don't have the background information, which again is being made more easy now with more social media and more
Right.
aggressive social media out there, to show that her original answer was somewhat circuitous, to be nice to her,
Nice word.
or gibberish, as you put it. And then it had to be sort of rescued and salvaged, like some ninth graders paper that you have to edit, so that's even maybe younger. And then you could see, okay, the mainstream media did that without letting us know they did that. So yeah, that's dishonest. So now we
That
know more
is,
than we did
yeah.
back then. Yeah.
No, it's just, man, it's so disappointing. It's so, you know, but I know that they're saying also with this, she was going against DeSantis and all stuff with the storm. Did you see this?
Tell me.
So it looks like, she was attacking Governor DeSantis. So this is yesterday. She accused Governor DeSantis of playing political games. There was also an interview, I think, today. I was trying to clip it. I couldn't find it anymore. But basically is the media, like you said, also attacking him, like, how come you didn't take the call or something from her or something like that? Like, like she's already acting precedent. So you have to answer her call, right?
Right.
And it's a bit of, I don't know. People are saying this is more of the base Biden type of thing, where he's upset that he got pushed aside and kind of fighting back on it. Because this is the tale of two takes, I guess. So this is her on this. Hold on.
I'm already chuckling.
Well, let's see. Can you hear it?
I can hear it.
Reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation here?
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
I mean, come on.
I don't
It's
know why
like,
she would do that. I mean, you know what? There's a
but see
crisis.
the news.
Right, exactly. But I'm saying I don't know why she would do that because honestly, you know, it's a situation that's still developing. It's a crisis. Why take pot shots at a governor?
It just makes you feel weak because it's like you're running for president. You're not running for governor of Florida. But the
Yeah,
fact
that
that
too. Yeah,
the
that
governor of
too.
Florida is not taking your call, she's like, "Well, how dare you?" But it's like it's never about the people. This is just like, "What? How dare he?" You know, it's like, wow, I can't. You know, she was, I think, in well, Governor DeSantis and President Trump, I guess they were gathering a bunch of linemen because now after the storm, I guess a lot of power is down. So they got a bunch of people, um, trying to put power back up to a lot of areas. And President Trump let them stay at his hotel, for free.
Oh, wow.
And these are
Great.
hundreds of workers who are, like linemen are called, which they help, with electricity. And she was on the Colbert show talking about having a beer. Like you told us before, people were like, who would you like to have a beer with? So, of course, they're like, oh, well, I'm having a beer with Stephen Colbert. Well, this is what Biden mentioned. So I thought it's a bit interesting because
The governor of Florida, the governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call. So I don't know. There was a rough start in some places, but every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive and acknowledged what this team is doing. And they're doing an incredible job. We got a lot more to do.
Isn't that hilarious? It's like, do they not communicate with each other? They invented this thing called pagers where you can get like a little text message on it, if they check it out, they might be able to communicate a little bit better.
I mean, just to recap that, basically, it sounds like Harris took the position that Governor DeSantis is a disaster and not managing well the natural disaster that's happening. And then current President Biden, the one for whom she works and works with, says, oh, he's doing a great job. So, yeah, that would seem to be somewhat inconsistent. And it puts her, again, looking a little bit, shabby.
It does. I'm very surprised that they would
but I don't think
that.
he knows. I mean, I don't know if that was okay. So maybe he did it on purpose because he does feel resentful. I have heard that, Fletcher, and that very well may be true. And then he also may not have, like you said, the pager wasn't working. He didn't get the heads up that she's taking the position that DeSantis is terrible. And so, he just said what was on his mind, which is, oh, he's doing a good job, doing a great job. So I don't know. But either way, yeah, it's not a good look for her that she, took issue with with DeSantis and and then had the current sitting vice president say, oh, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I did want to look at a bit of the storm. This was a video, I guess, I was sent, and just the other day, and
Wow.
yeah, it's just insane.
What is that? What are
So
we
this
looking at? Can you
so
describe it for those who are not watching but
So what
listening?
we're doing is a huge funnel cloud twister tornado, and it looks like it just destroyed some power lines because there was like a quick flash, and you can see, like cars moving away from it. This was taken, I guess, in Florida yesterday, and when it did hit landfall, there was a lot of flooding, a lot of disaster, but I do know that it it actually broke. I guess it got released to a category 3 and then broke, so it collapsed. And this was, I believe, like 7:30 p.m. like yesterday. So the eye collapsed when it hit the coast. So the worst was over, and everybody's praising God because there was a lot of prayers given for this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you see, so right now we're watching an image of the storm in a weather satellite, and you have the red part, I guess, is a bad part of the storm, and the center of it you can see kind of like dissipating as it rolls. And I mean, I can't say for sure that's that us pesky Catholics had anything to do with it, but I don't know if this might be a coincidence that there was a blessing at the Gulf of Mexico in advance of the hurricane. So this is Friar. Uh, 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 I'm sorry, Friar. Probably going to butcher this one because there must be Orthodox Greek friar. So it was Friar Athanasius and Friar Theophanes with the special permission. So okay,
Oh
I'm
my
butchering that.
goodness.
Okay. Well, you didn't jump in either, Ursula.
Oh gosh.
With the special permission of the Tampa Police Department, they traveled to the relic and icon of St. Nicholas and to Sunset Beach to bless the Gulf of Mexico. Um, so, and I know that and other nuns that were caught in the eye in a lot of religious orders, they were also uh, praying because they were, a lot of people couldn't leave. Um, and so this were the Sisters of Aquinas. They have an academy, and this was from their their monastery, and they were offering vespers for throughout the storm, and it's insane. But thank God, it broke, and amazing, and now
I
it's
do I do
recovered.
think prayers are very powerful. Prayers do work, and I know that there are particular prayers that Catholics have been using for centuries with respect to hurricanes and other types of bad weather. For example, I didn't know this, but church bells, though they're usually used to announce the hour of church
Mm,
services
right.
and to tell the time and to signify weddings and funerals, they also have other uses. So by the 13th century, there were times in which you use the bells to scatter storms. Perhaps it comes from the ancient Israelites who thought that blowing trumpets outside the walls of Jericho would knock them down, and it worked. They were told by God to do it. Um, and there's a rite of a blessing of a church bell called the baptism of bells. And it's not a sacrament, but it is a sacramental. And it's said with this prayer:
Mm.
when its melody shall sound in the ears of the peoples, may the devotion of their faith increase. May all the snares of the enemy, the crash of hailstorms and hurricanes, the violence of tempests be driven far away. May the deadly thunder be weakened. May the winds become salubrious and be kept in check. May the right hand of thy strength lay low the powers of the air, so that hearing this bell they may tremble and flee. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. And
Amen.
and salubrious means healthy. So the winds become
Wow.
healthy as opposed to harmful. And there's another prayer that I'd like our listeners to hear is from the Roman rite called Procession for Averting the Tempest. And I'm pretty sure Father Athanasios, whose name you butchered,
I did. I'm sorry, Father
Father,
Athanasius.
which is which is a play, I think the Greek version of the saint's name Athanasius, a very, very famous saint in the church, was probably saying some version of this prayer with a procession. So you stand in procession, you ring bells, you say the litany of the saints, which we all know if you're Catholic, and you say, God, who are offended by our sins, but appeased by our penances, may it please you to hear the entreaties of your people and to turn away the stripes that our transgressions rightly deserve. We beg you, Lord, to repel the wicked spirits from your family and to ward off the destructive tempestuous winds. Almighty everlasting God, spare us in our anxiety and take pity on us in our abasement, so that after the lightning in the skies and the force of the storm have calmed, even the very threat of tempest may be an occasion for us to offer you praise. Lord Jesus, who uttered a word of command to the raging tempest of wind and sea, and there came a great calm, hear the prayers of your family and grant that by this sign of the Holy Cross, all ferocity of the elements may abate. Almighty and merciful God, who heal us by your chastisement and save us by your forgiveness, grant that we, your suppliants, may be heartened and consoled by the tranquil weather we desire, and so may ever profit from your gracious favors through Christ our Lord. Amen. Now that's a
Oh, man.
prayer.
That
That's
is a
a prayer.
prayer.
And that recognizes that we as Catholics do believe that there is a spiritual sign, that there is a kind of potentially demonic presence in negative, violent, life threatening storms. We have always thought that. Even during the time of the Enlightenment, we still understood that, and we still do today. I'm certain those priests who prayed did help stop this storm, and many, many others who've been praying.
That's amazing.
We
That is
also
amazing.
light blessed candles as protections against storms. So I love that people are doing that. Also, people helping each other out. All of those things have been very encouraging during this really, really scary period.
Hmm. Yeah, and it does seem like there's a lot of misgiving and there's a lot of weird information regarding the climate, and it's been going around. And we're not trying to sound like conspiracy theories here, but now with all this stuff that's happening, the conspiracy theories are now just persons who have done actual research. It feels like. Because you had sent me this. So this Illinois mandates climate change indoctrination in all K-12 public school. Now, obviously, this is from LifeSite, so the wording of the heading, it's apropos to our belief on this. It's not we're saying that the weather might not be changing, but the idea of the climate change, meaning we're pushing an agenda towards and it's a fear mongering push, we believe, because a lot of the stuff that's attached to this, people not being well nourished because they don't want you to eat meat. People, they also have something against the churches. Even though they're, Pope Francis has spoken about climate change. A lot of this climate change activists are the people who want to get rid of people because they figure you guys are the problem of it, even though cows also do methane. But yeah, let's not forget
Yeah.
that. Let's not forget the plants. Well, we're not climate scientists, but to have it in K-12 public schools. I mean, I never went to school regularly, so what's like a K-12? So that would be kindergarten to 12th grade or 12 years old?
Oh no, yeah. So yeah, Fletcher. So that would be from from kindergarten, which is, children are about 5 years old,
Wow.
through the end of high school, which is 12th grade. So they would be about 17 or 18, maybe
That's
19.
insane.
So
That's
they,
their whole life.
yeah, that's their whole lives in school. And you know what? Honestly, um, it's not the case, I don't think, that Illinois has students who have a better than the national average for reading, writing, arithmetic, the basics that you should be going to school for. But now they're going to become, amateur climatists. That's not appropriate. That's not what there should be in school for. And I agree with the title of indoctrination, because actually, I think, as Dr. John Klaus, who is a Nobel Prize winning scientist, who expressed more than moderate doubts about climate change. In fact, he, at one of the world conferences in South Korea, in Seoul, South Korea, said climate change is pretty much pumped up, that it's not the alarm that we should be sounding at all. In fact, he says there is no issue. So there we go. That he's a Nobel Prize winner. So the idea that we would be teaching little kids who are too young to be able to distinguish between scientific fact and scientific theory, scientific laws and theories, it's an interesting debate. I definitely don't have a problem with believing that there is climate change. This scientist could be wrong. This Nobel Prize winning scientist could be wrong. At the same time, he could be right. This is the kind of conversation that probably should happen maybe in college, more likely in graduate schools with those who are doing it. I definitely think it's something that the information should come to politicians and those looking. But why would a little kid have to be learning about some area of law, of science, not law, but science, that has not been settled yet, except that you are
Right.
trying to proselytize them?
Yeah, that's the issue, because okay, nobody's saying that there's not a crisis. Nobody's saying, I mean, well, he's saying, I think what he's saying is that he doesn't believe that what what the parameters that they're setting are the ones that are the real threat. In other words, when people say all this, oh, this, there is the climate change crisis, and maybe we should do something about what the Pope has said about climate change, and what we know about it, and what are people saying? Because from my understanding, a lot of this whole climate change, in quotes, movement, it's part of the euthanasia movement also, which tells you that, hey, you're having too many babies. The world cannot hold you. And if you traveled anywhere at all in the world, you know that there's. I mean, just go through the Western United States alone. I mean, go through Alaska. Go through even let's say the tiny island of Hawaii. You go to Kauai and this lovely island, and you go to place and then there's nobody there. Where's the everybody? Yeah, there's some cities that are full of people, but there's also tons of land everywhere that is just there's nobody there.
Right.
There's absolutely nobody there, and we're nearing. We should do something about this one time, Ursula,
We
because
should, Fletch.
we're next to a universal decline in population. Even China, the one child policy that they had, are now rushing to reverse it because they can't keep up their civilization and their infrastructures. I mean, they had cities built that are just sitting empty because nobody, they don't have enough people to fill it and to pay for this social programs and all this kind of stuff. We're nearing that in the United States, hence the influx of, man, we're going on a bit of a thing on this one, but this
I
is
mean,
insane,
I
right?
mean, yeah, definitely. I think, well, we could discuss this. Maybe we can look at Malthus, because people have said that's where this idea that, we have a population explosion that we can't sustain came from, and that his models have been discredited, and that there isn't any problem of people. God made the place for us. There's plenty of room for us. Not to say that we shouldn't be good stewards of the earth. I think hopefully that's what Pope Francis is getting at. We do have a
Right.
responsibility to keep this world clean and pure as much as possible. But the idea that somehow just by existing, we are causing harm to the planet is wrong. It's definitely anti-Catholic. That's not our belief. The Bible says be fruitful and multiply. We don't have to, delete our children or sterilize ourselves or not get married or not have children or anything because of fears that we're overpopulated. The overpopulation is a myth. Now, the fact that there's change in the climate, I think you can't deny that. What you can do about it or the causes of it is where I think the argument may take place. There might be some who say there isn't any change also, perhaps. I'm not sure what Dr. Klaus thinks. He definitely thinks that we're being alarmist about these predictions. He doesn't think there's a crisis. But the fact, Dr. Klauser, I just don't think that Illinois has any business politicizing this. It's a scientific debate. It may be a policy debate. It's not a debate that you should be having with a 5-year-old. Why are they being taught anything other than learning how to do? You know what? You have enough to do with getting a 5-year-old to tie their shoes properly, to sit down for hours, to go outside when you ask them to, come inside when you're supposed to, put on clothing, learn their ABCs properly, learn to read well, learn the basics of mathematicians, right, of mathematics, and maybe some basic science, right, like teach them something you can maybe show with like the mixing of colors, turning different colors, like with with paints and so forth. What are you teaching them about climate change? How could that be appropriate for them? That's just not appropriate. I remember having a lot to learn between K through 12. I definitely didn't have time to learn that as well. Maybe in college, for those who are interested, they can take some courses in that. But to say this is mandatory tells me this is not about climate change. This is about indoctrination. I think LifeSite News got it right.
Yeah. So I was just looking at Illinois is the worst grade school scores. I guess in all their districts seems to be on the lower end of the learning spectrum.
Wow.
So when you start thinking like, oh, maybe you're not really doing that right, but yeah, well, we're just giving you the information. Take with it as you must. But talking about climate change and all this kind of stuff, and they want to teach this kid that maybe you as being alive is not a good thing for the climate. And gee, what could be wrong with teaching that to a kindergarten? And then all throughout when he becomes an adult, and then how would you expect him to act when he gets this information? But then we find out that some of the information also could be tainted, because you had sent me this that the U.S. government is using weather modification technologies to strengthen hurricanes. Now, if it's all about the climate change, but we're manipulating that change, isn't that climate manipulation and not climate change? What's the point of the change?
And we should preface by saying we don't know this is true, and we don't endorse it. This is something that a site we like going to from time to time is, I think, musing about, is speculating, is
Right.
putting forth as a theory. So what the article basically states is that the technology is there. I don't know if it's there to create what was known as a category 5 or 4, full on hurricane, but there is enough evidence to know that there is potential there to either increase the force or direction of a hurricane of that size. And in fact, the United States has already declassified information in which they have admitted to having done it before, to having manipulated weather to better a position in war, and they did that in Vietnam, and that's well known. So it's called Operation Popeye. So that is something people are thinking about. I mean,
Right.
it definitely seems like you're going into tinfoil hat area, But you know what? Nothing is crazy today. I mean, who would have thought the whole world would have been locked down for 2 years over what some say is a man-made biological weapon, and that, done on purpose. So I mean, come on. I mean, I wouldn't put anything past anything. I wouldn't say for sure that's what happened, but I think for someone to feel sure it didn't happen is also naive.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because you're kind of going, what's going on? What exactly is going on? What exactly are people doing
Right?
with the weather and stuff like that? I mean, if you watch stuff in Saudi Arabia, you start seeing how much, sometimes they're getting floods now, where they weren't before because of cloud seeding and stuff in the area. And we're not saying that the government created these storms, but at the same time, there's technology out there. There's stuff that's going on. We might not know everything about it, but it's just unusual. It's just an unusual thing. But you did
Yeah.
send me another story of a case that we've been following. We talked about this with Canada. And finally, I guess it's starting to get some kickback, because before this, nobody was saying anything. It was it this whole, if you guys don't know, so in Canada there's been all this hate towards Christian and Catholic churches, mostly Catholic. And basically a lot of churches, I mean, now I think it's in the hundreds of churches that have been burned down. A lot of them being through arson from people who are hating on the church because this propaganda that was trumped up by the Trudeau administration and their government, and uh, saying that the church basically um, abused and killed Native children for some reason.
Hmm.
Because that would make sense, right? It makes sense that the church trying to grow would actually kill children in a horrible misdirect, because from my understanding, the Canadian government, it's fully capable of killing enough or deleting children, should we say,
Yes,
by
deleting.
themselves, and not only deleting children, they also want to delete adults. So it's government of death is claiming that the church is obviously narcissistic projection here, accusing others of what you're doing. But then nothing turned up, so they spent all this money on trying to find these mass graves and couldn't find none. So judge now slams Trudeau media for false claim about death, secret burials at residential schools. Canadians are being deliberately deceived by the Trudeau government, Indigenous leaders, and the media about the obviously false claim that residential schools were responsible for the deaths of secret burials of children. Retired Manitoba Judge Brian Gibbs, not gonna butcher that, Brian G. wrote. Um, so, man, I just this whole thing that I've been following it's kind of blood boiling for me, because us being part native, we know that sometimes our people are gullible, from federal government coming in and telling us things. It's a. I mean, read, check out your history. Being native and the federal government coming to help you, it's not usually works out well for us.
No, I
Just
mean,
FYI.
you're so right. I mean, Fletcher, honestly, you're the first person I ever heard to really talk about this issue, and you've been talking about it for a couple of years. And at the time, I had never really heard about this situation in Canada where some had accused the Catholic Church of having slaughtered children and buried them and hid their bodies, in unmarked graves to abuse indigenous populations. And as you said, we both have indigenous blood. Both of our families come from that, from different areas. And so, we are sympathetic to the fact that our people have been under attack many times and have been subject to oppression by various what means. But this was an outlandish claim because the church doesn't get anything from doing that. And that's not really what the Catholic Church is really about. but people have their prejudices and biases against the church. And so they came up with this story. And the Canadian government spent a lot of money to try to do lasers and, what kind of infrared technology or whatever to find these bodies, and didn't find them. And in fact, the only children they found were ones who died naturally, because there was actually, typhus running around and other kinds of diseases. And they were lovingly buried with their names on a plot. So what are you talking about? And now, Trudeau has been keeping that going. Others have been keeping that going. Some won't let it go. And they've spent a lot of time and a lot of years, as you said, Fletcher, being deceived about this really absurdly false claim, when there are
Right.
actual people, having that they should have spent their money on, who've been actually, the victims of trafficking and so forth. That's not the case with the church. Not saying that the church has never done anything wrong or hasn't been mean to people who are native. Obviously not. But to say that there was this, widespread, kind of, intentional slaughter of Indian children, when honestly what the church wanted to do always was save souls and educate. That's really what we're about.
Yeah,
So
and
it's absurd.
it comes to this idea that this whole, like the church is white, and we should talk about this more in depth. We do say we're going to talk about things sometimes too
Are we
much.
gonna write
I
a
guess
list or something? Because I think
we
our
got to let a
viewers are
list and
gonna
check it
wonder.
just right. When are they going to
Yeah.
get to this list? So, guys, if you leave us a comment and let us know if what list that we're missing from. But this whole idea that the Catholic Church is this white bastion, white meaning race, that people assign to it. The Catholic Church has billions of followers. We're not all white, guys.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
We're
so
not all white. There's a fair number of indigenous people who are also Catholic and have been for centuries. And no, it wasn't at forced conversions.
right.
That was not the case. They
We have
willingly
native saints
decided to. Exactly.
from
Yeah.
the United States. It's like, come on,
Yeah.
guys. Let's not get crazy. But thank you for indulging me, Ursula. I know
Absolutely.
this is one where uh, that it just irks me to no end, because it just seems that it they don't apologize. They make a mistake,
Right.
but yes, I don't know.
That's the main thing too. Where's the apology? Because you know what? People are out here saying, "Oh, the Catholic Church killed Indian kids in Canada."
Yeah,
And where's the what? Isn't that a defamation? Don't you normally have to say something to retract
no.
it?
No, you don't have to. You only if you're a trucker, you have to say stuff, and you're fighting for free speech in Canada. But I guess that'll be for another day. But it does give us this idea, because you sent me this today, which was shocking to me. This was shocking to me, because this is how you get the other story. So if you guys want to know how can a government be in place that treats Christians like garbage and makes false claims, that destroys churches and puts people in harm's way, this is why.
Why don't you
This is
explain
why.
what you're seeing? Because not everyone can see it.
All right, so this is from LifeSite News. 32 million, 32 million Christians might not vote in presidential election this year. New survey warns. Uh, so these are Christians who regularly turn church by sit out the 2024 presidential election in Arizona. Christian University found. This is insane. This is insane. I know that a lot of people have this idea that, well, Trump is just a horrible person and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, are you even, do you even know what the other side is doing?
You know,
You
I
know,
I I understand. I mean, I agree with you, Fletcher. It is somewhat shocking to consider that such a large number, enough that it could actually change the results of the election, of Christians will maybe not vote this year at all. And that is actually astonishing. At the same time, I think I know why. I think I know where they're coming from. Here's what I think may be going on. I think there is a feeling in which people have felt, on one hand, it doesn't seem to make a difference because a lot of the talk, and this is ironic, right? Because some
Right.
people on the right have been saying that the election was stolen last time. Former President Trump has said that as well. And I think some people think, well, then what's the point? But I
Right.
think there is a point, because if it weren't, people wouldn't be fighting as hard as they are. If it was just to be given, then you wouldn't see the kind of, antics that we just talked about, with journalists hiding, Vice President Kamala's answers to things, because if they had it in the bag, they would just, let her do her word salad, and let the chips fall, because you already have it set. So I think but I think that's the mentality, that it doesn't make a difference. The other reason I think might be because, honestly, I don't know what you think, Fletcher, but former President Trump has kind of seemingly backed away from being as pro-life as he was. And I think
Yeah.
some people really feel strongly, definitely a lot of Catholics do, that there is no good choice, because you have Kamala Harris, who's very pro-abortion, or pro-deleting one's baby. We won't say the AB word on here.
Right.
And, now, Trump, who used to be fairly pro-life, has been more so waffling. And I think out of the idea that he's going to get more voters that way, he's afraid of losing the suburban women's vote, who want to delete their babies, or deleted their babies when they were young women and feel guilty about it, and want to be able to, not feel like what they did was wrong. They feel personally attacked by having, Roe v. Wade overturned, or maybe who want to be able to delete their grandbabies. I don't know. So he's waffled on that. And I think the timing of Melania's book couldn't be worse. And obviously it was planned for her to come out as basically, pro deleting one's babies, and maybe for the same reason as the suburban women. But I think that's why some of these Christians feel like, well, there's no good choice.
Hmm. No, I can see that. I just, expecting the government to do everything for you, as we saw before, it's not really the best thing, in my point of view. Now, I'm from, countries that really abused the people. But sometimes, the United States has had a history of doing similar things. And the way that I see it is that, do you want to be? I felt like Christians had been shut down by the government, very much. I mean, we're getting dangerously close to stuff that's happening, like in UK and Australia, and Spain, to us here, where people are getting arrested just for praying, even silently. Uh, and we know with the FACE Act, that they've been targeted. Even like older folks are out in jail, for non-violent, peaceful protest. And these are not the people that are setting this. 80-year-old ladies and 70-year-old men, or 80-year-old men, are not setting fires to anything. They're not destroying 7-Elevens. They're not, storming Capitol buildings. They're just praying. And they got, years in prison, federal prison. And now you want to say you don't want to vote, because guess what? The people who Harris is going to bring into power hate you. They hate your faith. The people that Trump might bring into power, at least some of them are us. Some of them are us, right? With Harris, we have no chance, meaning there's no chance. And I can understand you doing I'm doing my moral thing, because the Republican Party is not going to change unless we start now. No, it's not. It's not going to change. Start whenever you want to start. You can start right now by voting for Trump, and then start working on the on the campaign. Start working your own campaign. Start working at the local level. Start getting strong leaders. Where's the next Trump? He's not going to be able to run forever, right? This is the one and done. So who's the next one? Who's after him? Are you gonna? And I think something what JD Vance had said was very interesting, because he said when his anti self deleting, deleting babies measures he did in his state did not pass. he didn't say, "Oh my gosh, the godless heathens are attacking me." He said, "You know what? I didn't do a good enough job to teaching people that this is evil." Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said. And that's what we need to do. If this is happening, you need to talk to your fellow Christians and all stuff, and you got to let them know, hey, this show them why, show them the love of Christ, but also be firm and let them know, hey, maybe this is not such a good idea to be deleting, kids like it's a Happy Meal,
Right.
right? Maybe
Right.
having access to that is not the best thing. But we do have a buddy in the front. What's up,
Yeah.
David Glenn? Hey,
What's
Dave. What?
up?
Yeah,
What?
we're a little early. We're still not in the
The 5 a.m. show we want to do
yeah, we're still
at
not in
his
the 5 a.m.
suggestion.
Yes. We still, you know what? It's funny because we were saying, it's like, David did say we should do a 5 a.m. show. He's waiting for the 5 a.m. show. And
We
I'm
were
like,
tempted.
we were tempted. We were tempted because it's like, oh, why not? Let's just do a 5 a.m. show for. Yeah, but I think today we have stuff to do later on, so we had to come in a little bit early just to get through all the stuff that Ursula's been sending me.
Oh, make it seem like it's just me. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's insane. If you guys think that sometimes we're going quick, it's not even the tip of the iceberg on what we're covering. It's just it's just
No, for sure. No, for
yeah. We might still do it. I still do it. I did wanted to share this with you because I don't know if you know. So, this whole podcast war because podcasts right now are really popular, hence why we started one. And hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Nickname that's
Please.
birds. What?
Yes.
So this is, people are calling it like the tale of the two podcasts. So and just recently, Trump went on a podcast call of I guess it's the Andrew Schultz podcast, and Kamala Harris went on to the Call Her Daddy podcast, which okay, both of these podcasts I've never heard of. I believe, well, from the Vice President Harris view you see right there, I guess the podcast is. I didn't know this, so this is one of the most popular podcasts in the United States. This
Which
Call
one
Her
is
Daddy.
that?
The
Are you
Kamala
serious?
Harris. Yeah,
I
so it's
never
called
heard of it
Call Her
either.
Daddy. It's one of the top. That's what somebody told me. It's like one of the top podcasts that's out there, and it's of a sexual nature.
You got to be kidding me.
No, I didn't know because the name to me threw me off, right? But I guess like from flirtation, sexual innuendos, like so instead of call me daddy, I guess it's call her daddy.
Please
So,
don't. Please,
all right,
pleasure.
so
Please just stop there. Just.
well, the
skip
fact that
Skip that
that a
part.
sitting vice president went on this thing, and this was happening when the hurricane was in full force. Like so this was so a lot of people are talking because Call Her Daddy has supposedly more subscribers than this other this Andrew Schultz podcast. And of course, on the sex podcast, it's not going to be hard questions thrown out. That could
I
get
don't want to
clipped
know.
also.
Again, you're going into a dangerous
Sorry.
territory,
All right.
Fletch.
My bad. But President Trump came off like a champ on this one. He was all like, talking with the guys, It's like he doesn't need no teleprompter to talk to people. So it's interesting because we were talking about deletion and stuff like that. And he did come on and talk about that. So you're right. They are trying to move into that, how he's not going to get into Roe v. Wade and stuff like that, trying to make it a federal law, which it'll be ridiculous. This was a horrible law to begin with. And he's like, sending him back to the States was the thing, and that's what we keep saying. Fight at your local level, because your local level is, we're saving kids at the local level. Federal level,
Right.
you're never going to save anything, because it's they can't even send help. You guys send me some stuff about people are just self-helping because FEMA's not doing anything for them, and the federal government's just drowning them in people and stuff. But I digress. So I believe that even though the Andrew Schultz podcast is a smaller podcast than this Call Her Daddy podcast, it had so I don't know if you can see it well. So the likes ratio. So the Call Her Daddy had, I guess, 14,000 likes,
Okay.
and the Trump had 39,000 likes. So so people are going, hey, this is a very telling sign of what's to come. Hopefully, right? Having
Okay.
3 times a like, so they're taking
Gotcha.
this almost kind of like
Like an
it's
informal poll.
yes, like an informal poll. Um, but I do think that this coincides with some of this rhetoric, right? Because we've all been talking about rhetoric, the way we're reading rhetoric, and I know you didn't see this one, or maybe you did, and I wanted to share with you. So this is University of Kansas, right?
Yeah.
So University of Kansas, there was a professor. This is from Lips of TikTok. And they did a statement regarding this professor, and I wanted to show you the professor. So, for those of you who can't read this, this says the same professor, University of Kansas, say that men who don't vote for Kamala should be lined up and taken out. Right? So,
Delete it.
Smarter than girls, you got
right.
some serious problems. That's what frustrates me. There are going to be some males in our society that will refuse to vote for a potential female president because they don't think females are smart enough to be president.
Now it's like an interesting take, because you're kind of like going. I've heard this argument, right? So the argument is that the only reason people are not voting for her is because she's female. Right now, I can understand that there's some people who would have an issue with voting for her, because they're like, hey, I don't know if we're ready for a woman president or something like that. I don't know. I'm from South America. We have plenty of women presidents. So with that, why
Right.
are you only voting for her because she's a woman? I mean, is that the only
I think
qualification
that's going
you
too
need?
far. I don't think that's what he's saying, though, Fletcher. To be fair, I think he's saying he takes it as a premise that she's the superior candidate,
Right.
and that his fear is that there are males who would not vote for her simply because she is a female candidate. I
Okay.
don't think I think you're right. I think it's not a big deal anymore. There may be people who feel that way. Maybe there's a lot of people who feel that way. But his statements that come afterwards are still disturbing, even if there are some problems with someone who may make a decision just on the gender of someone who's running for office.
And can I just say, when did professors start dressing like their softball coaches?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. That's pretty funny.
It's like, what is that? What are you wearing? It's like khakis and a. So it's okay if it has the
It's a
team
sloppy
logo
look.
on it.
It's terrible.
You're okay. This is a
It's
university.
terrible. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Right?
It's pretty
We
bad.
could line all those guys up and shoot them.
I mean, it was the anniversary, I think, yesterday, of the death of Che Guevara. Sorry he's ever associated with Argentina, but that awful dictator who basically, one of the things he would like to do is discriminate against, blacks, and he would, he actually did shoot a 12-year-old kid in the head because he didn't think that, he was for the revolution enough, right? So this is obviously his counterpart here. without the guts to actually get a gun and start a revolution, right? He just sits there with his
Right.
probably tenured, thing just out there, feeding the minds. And that's kind of what we're talking about even before with the climate change stuff with K through 12. They want you all this buttered up and listening to these idiots talking about stuff that they know nothing about,
Right.
and then they just want to go. And what's the first thing that they do is go to violence. Wait a minute, Ursula. I thought we were the ones that were violent. I thought we were the ones that far extremists out there. We go to. That's why the FBI has the Catholic mass goers on watch lists, right?
Right.
I mean,
For
what the
traditional
heck is
masses in
this?
particular. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, what are we
well,
doing?
you know what, Fletcher, I always feel I have to kind of take the devil's advocate position. By the way, devil's advocate is a term that comes from Catholics. It's because when someone is up for sainthood and they're going to be canonized as saint, meaning they're going to be officially raised to the canon of saints in the Catholic Church, there is an entirely intensive and rigorous process of investigating that saint's life, including any miracles that have been associated with their intercession or alive and or dead, and looking through everything, including exhuming the body. And there is a process in which someone, basically like the promoter, will say why this person lived an exemplary life and has truly been, knighted by God to be a holy saint. And there's always a person the church hires or advises who is the so-called devil's advocate. They say they're the devil. That's literally their role. That's the term that they were given. The name of that person is the devil's advocate who argues against it, so that there is this give and take. And so there's not just like a love fest for a saint. There's someone who's saying, no, this person is not a saint, and here's why. And then, if the person still comes out on top, then they still are made a saint. But I want to play devil's advocate a little bit here. I feel bad for this guy. I mean, you know what? He's a professor. I know I'm going to have an unpopular take, I think. I get it. I'm going to sound like the bleeding heart liberal here for a second. I feel like he's like, well, I'm not saying it's correct to say that we should line up men who don't want to vote for Kamala simply because she's a woman and shoot them is okay. That's obviously a rash statement if it were taken to its natural and correct conclusion that he's calling for violence against people who have a different take on things than he does. And that's really reprehensible. But do you really think that he meant it? I mean, Fletcher, we get on people for canceling people for stray comments or, expressing what's in their minds. Are we maybe doing that with this poor guy? I mean, he's just a poor schmuck. He can't even dress properly for his class. He feels strongly about it. And obviously someone was recording. I mean, that's scary. One of his students is recording and then rats him out. I think he's saying what's in his heart, which is that I feel like people like that are horrible and they should be shot. But I don't know if people mean that literally when they say it.
And you could say that was the case. But obviously, a student felt uncomfortable enough with the way that he was going with this. Right?
Okay.
And
right.
then maybe he feels, well, what's keeping you from shooting me, professor?
Yeah, true.
Right? So,
true,
I mean,
true.
you can take it both ways. The thing is, we've been canceled for much less. Right?
Yeah.
And our side's been canceled for much less. And a lot of people dislike what stuff like Lips of TikToks does. And I understand that because some people say it goes too far because it means that we are joining in the cancel culture that the left has been doing for a long time. I can understand that. Other people are saying that, hey, we should be fighting back. We now haven't been fighting back, and that's the issue. And it's both sides can have like an equal importance because having two opposite thoughts at the same time, hey, that means you're actually thinking and making progress in your thought process.
That is true.
But you can also look at this and goes, hey, imagine if that was on the other side. Imagine if the professor, he would, nobody's charring peppering his house or something. I don't know if he's getting death threats or any kind like that, but imagine the school. Would the school still be standing, or I mean, how many paid organizations would be at that school protesting and tearing it apart? Right? If
Yeah,
it was
that's
the
true.
other side.
Yeah,
So
no, for
that's all
sure.
I'm saying. I'm not saying, hey, this is. I mean, yeah, there's people saying, yeah, the fight back, and I'm all for the fighting back. I think we should protect our families and our churches. Right? Protect your family, protect your churches, protect your kin, protect your loved ones, and then fight in the voting booths, fight to get heard on the school districts, homeschool, definitely, if you can get people together and do that. But mainly protect your churches, protect your family, protect your faith, and don't be ashamed of your faith, is what I say. But this is, so I guess this was the statement. The university is aware of classroom video in which instructor made an inappropriate reference to violence. Yeah, right. Subtle,
Uh,
subtle.
Kansas
Kansas.
ain't playing around though. Let's be real though. For real, they have that whole chart. Keep messing around. The more you mess around, the more you find out.
Right.
They have that chart on lock. Oh my gosh, you gotta take it down. Kansas. I mean, if there's one school you might want to send your kids to is Kansas.
Well,
Anywhere else, he would be, kind of, lifted
that
up
what he
like
said.
as a hero.
Yeah.
Because he offered to kill people who don't want to vote for Kamala Harris,
Yeah.
who are
Professor
males.
Lives Matter.
Professor Lives Matter. No, I mean he's not the wrong school to do that. I mean, there's some schools he could have said that, I think, with impunity. Honestly, it looks like Kansas is not one of them.
Yeah, it looks like it's not something that they're gonna tolerate, I guess. But it's I don't know. I thought it was interesting that there's now some non wiggle room, I guess, should we say, or people are actually taking some kind of effect to it. But yeah, we'll see. It's it's a thing. But I know your cousin has been acting out.
My cousin?
Yeah.
Which one? I got a lot of cousins.
So Kim Jong Un threatens to nuke
Oh, no,
America
you didn't,
in South
Fletcher.
Korea as he ramps up hostiles ahead
Fletcher.
of U.S. election.
Don't you dare. He kind of looks like my cousin.
He
I don't claim that cousin. I don't claim him. Okay. He is not.
You don't have to claim him,
I
That's
don't
it
claim
is what
him.
it is.
He's not my cousin. Okay. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's horrible. Somebody needs to stop this. I mean, why would he be threatening to use nuclear weapons? What would be the purpose of that, Fletcher? Why would you want to ramp up in a world that's already suffering a lot from escalations of violence? Look at what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. Look at what's happening with Palestine and Israel. And now you feel this is the right time, the dictator of North Korea, to threaten to use nuclear weapons against the United States and South Korea? Come on.
Yeah.
What a nutcase. He doesn't have, good control over his people. It's unclear what he does have. He does have nuclear weapons. They do. That's kind of been shown in the last few years. I don't know what state they're in. I don't know if we could kind of know when they're about to launch and then be able to stop them. I would assume we have some capabilities to do that. It's like he's willing, though, to sacrifice, the kind of arm's length coldness that we have, that we leave them alone, you leave us alone, by making these kinds of threats. It does seem that he does make them from time to time, though. I'm not sure what that's about.
He does make it from time to time. I don't know if it's some kind of like haha, or if it's this time he really lost it.
Right. Yeah. And I remember seeing something online, which I'm going to have to go and look at. Maybe I'll just bring this up again, that said that there is some kind of method to his madness, why he threatens this all the time. And I will try to figure it out. If I had to anticipate what the argument might be, maybe that is a kind of self-protection, because it's like someone, like the skunk, or like the porcupine, like they don't have a lot of defenses, so they have to threaten big to kind of keep people at bay. Perhaps, I don't know if that's what the um person's going to say. I'm going to try to find that video that was talking about why there was some theory as to why this happens, why Kim
Mhm.
Jong Un is threatening nuclear weapons. It's just very sad, because this is a dictator who spent time in Europe, who had time to see what a functioning government should look like, at least somewhat democratic government, and that has, rule of law, rather than, the bizarre authoritarian tyranny dictatorship that he's running, that he inherited from his father and grandfather. You would think he would have, having had the benefit of that kind of education, have brought something different. I think people were expecting that, perhaps. And all he's done recently, I can tell you, Fletcher, is he's created a new song in honor of himself that they all, of course, are required to sing on pain of death. Because people have been put to death in that regime for not expressing sufficient enthusiasm for the supreme leader, including one who was put to death, at least purportedly, because he didn't clap loudly enough when he came out. If you notice, whenever Kim Jong Un comes out, and it was true for his father and grandfather, the people, assembled, have to clap for a long time. You don't want to be the first to stop clapping. You want the supreme leader to kind of say, okay, enough, stop clapping. You clap with enthusiasm, and this person did not. It was put to death. People have been put to death for singing South Korean, K-pop, or like popular songs, and much other things, and even more insane than that, such as a woman who was put in jail. I don't think she was eliminated, but she was put in jail because she refused or failed to take out of her burning house the two pictures of the prior supreme leaders, which every single North Korean is required to have in their homes, and is looked upon at regular inspections, and as well as every government building, schools, everywhere, basically. And she went and grabbed her two children, but not the photos, and that was a violation. And her
This
neighbor
is
went into
crazy.
her burning house and took them out, so he was labeled a hero while she was put in jail. This sounds like you're not sufficiently enthusiastic about the regime, that you put your own children above the pictures of the great leaders. So this is a terrible place, a terrible situation that needs to be resolved. I don't know how it's going to happen. Maybe him doing this is going to bring it about, because I don't think he gets it. South Korea and United States aren't playing around either.
Yeah. So this is really, I mean, and we pray for any of our brothers and sisters that are in North Korea. We know there's probably some, and they are truly courageous because they're practicing the faith, in threat of death. So there's no excuse for us to be weak here. Um,
Right. That's
I
so
did talk
true.
about you about this movie that's happening, which I think should deserving of the North Korean, tribute. And it's this movie called The Conclave. Uh, and I mean, I can't say how enough of how disappointed I am that this is coming out. I mean, it's the hate for the church in Hollywood is not new, right?
Right.
Uh, but with all their talk of inclusivity and diversity, you would think they would understand that one of the most inclusive and diverse places is the church, but they don't look at that because their religion, their alphabetized religion is not getting into the church, and they want it in there because they have to conquer everything. Um, but this movie is not only anti-pope, is anti-Catholic. I want to warn Catholics out there who might be swayed by the beautiful visuals, because the movie does look it's Robert Fiennes, it's Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow. I mean, Isabella Rossellini. I mean, these people are amazing. They're amazing actors. The movie itself, it looks beautiful. It has all the trappings of a fascinating movie. Uh, but it's
Yeah, I saw the trailer, I believe, Fletcher. I don't know what movie I was watching, but it just has sumptuous, look to it. It's very
yeah.
beautiful. The colors, the
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
grandness of it all. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you have like the Vatican. Uh, it's just I mean, look at that. It's just, if you see it, if it's that's this is the poison, because it looks. Remember when kids were eating Tide Pods and they had to do the warnings and stuff?
Yeah.
Because for a
Yeah.
kid that looks enticing. For a Catholic, you're showing these inner walls that you probably would never see. Uh, you know, it to me, it's like, you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta watch it, and you're saying to yourself, I'll just watch it just for the visuals, and no, this is the whole Da Vinci Code, crap all over again, in a sense, where they entice you with, oh, it's an adventure, right? And then there's blasphemy, and then there's soul. um it's I think it could damage your soul, right? That's the way I look at it.
So do
I
we have any specifics? Do you have any specifics about what's problematic in the film?
Okay, so uh I don't think nobody should watch this, but this is a spoiler. Basically, the whole premise of the movie is that the Pope has passed, and there is the convocation of the bishops to claim a new Pope, and there's the politicking all around, and the Pope is the new Pope that they're trying to put in place and succeed is a biological woman. um, and thereby getting what all the fascination dreams of all the alphabet mafia is, to have a trans pope, right? A biological female that was gonna transition or something like that, or is transitioning or something, becomes the pope. Um, and the people know about it. In other words, it's not like the bishops are being deceived, and it's like haha at the end. No, it's like they're in cahoots. Not only that, but also the villain of the movie is someone like us, somebody who wants to preserve the church, who goes to Latin mass, who we say is a conservative. So it's doing, not only is doing it intentionally, is an intention to do it. This I believe the director is German. To me, every single person that is in this movie or involved with this movie. So I don't know I don't know. I guess Ralph Fiennes, he's probably an atheist or something like that. I don't know. Stanley Tucci, I'm surprised, because that sounds like an Italian name. So I don't know if he's Italian. And if he's Italian, I'm sure he has family members that are part of the Catholic Church. John Lithgow, don't know. Obviously, not a Christian. Is it Bella I'm gonna butcher that.
Rossellini. She's famous.
Rossellini. Yes.
She's getting
Obviously
up there
needs.
now.
Well, she's up there in the wrong place now, because I think everybody involved with this movie, I don't care who you are, if you're involved with this movie, you need to repent, you need to give your life to Christ, and you need to go to confession. And if you don't do this, you should be excommunicated. I'm just calling it like it is. Everybody that's involved with this heresy, this disgusting movie, should be excommunicated from the church. Nobody that's a Christian should watch this, even for, oh, it looks, it's amazing reasons. This is not art. This is propaganda. It's disgusting propaganda. And this, I guarantee you, this was sponsored by some government crap somewhere. And I say, to hell with it. You guys are gonna burn for this. This is not right. and you're mocking the church that, you know what, all the people that are, suffering all around the world, you people are not doing anything. Why don't you bleeding heart liberals from this conclave go out and feed children in Africa and South America and Asia, which once you risk your life in North Korea or China to preach the gospel to better help people. You guys think that everybody in the Vatican sits up there in gold robes or something because they're not doing nothing. Guess what? The popes pray and pray and pray and fast. They're the biggest servants. Everybody that's supposed to be there, yeah, there's some who are milking the system. There's always that in every situation. Go to a company, you'll find people slacking. But the majority of the church is the biggest supporter of causes as orphanages, hospitals. I mean, come on. You're tarnishing something that supposedly you're about beauty and optics. I dislike this whole Hollywood, thing to paint themselves as some kind of like, oh, we're artists that are helping people. No, you're vicious, disgusting snakes that are trying to subvert the beautiful Catholic Church all around the world, and I don't think you should get away with it. Everybody ban this thing to hell, cast it into the fire. Nobody should see this. Nobody should have a copy of this. If you know somebody who wants to go see it, warn them. If you go out to social media, anything you have to do, warn your fellow brothers and sisters that this is not the thing. And I don't care if you're Muslim, Jewish, or anything. If you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, if you're Hindu, and you see this, you wouldn't like this to be done to your religion. So I would say join us in making sure this thing burns, making sure nobody sees this thing, making sure everybody involved in this is, I think everything should be, that's it. I mean, I'm disgusted. Rob Fiennes, I had such respect. Stanley Tucci had such respect for you. I have none now. That's it. You done. You know what this is. You know what you're doing. You're like, that's it. I'm done with you. This is disgusts me to no end. And I'm done. I don't know.
Fletcher chose violence. Fletcher chose violence. But Fletcher, here's the thing though. Don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still dealing with my feelings right now. But how do you think?
Snap! I can't add to that. That was great. You know
Thank you,
what?
David.
I tell him, Fletcher. Thank you, David. Yeah, I tell him, Fletcher. I guess I won't go see it. Maybe I was a little tempted to, just out of curiosity. It's such a beautiful looking film, but you're right. I don't want to support that. I won't see it.
I just don't understand. I mean, I understand why they're doing it because they want this. They want to do this thing that they don't even understand. But at the same time, they know what they're doing, right? They know what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose. And people who are a little bit naive are going to be deceived by it. And this is the issue. I mean, it's similar to everything we were talking about. What we were talking about early, 60 Minutes, kind of like deceiving you by editing that Harris interview.
Right.
People saying that, we're going to teach climate change, and not climate change as in we're going to teach kids how to read weather patterns or cloud formations, or that maybe, arid lands need a variation and tropical and fauna, erosion control, or anything like that that's actually could help climate.
Right.
No, we're going to teach them that this could take you out if you decide to grow up and be an adult that has a family, right?
Right.
So, and then you have stuff like this, which brings in the art section of propaganda, because this is propaganda. And it's just propaganda paid by the state, paid by these people who call themselves artists to bring about art, to make it look like art. But it's not art.
Yeah, it looks like it.
When it's like this is called propaganda. All right. And you could be, I know that Jordan Peterson enjoys like some of that Russian propaganda art that is out there. Maybe there's something that I'm not getting from that because I'm not as learned or well spoken as him. But to me, propaganda means you're trying to deceive me by painting your side as the only side that's right.
Right.
And this to me feels like you're trying to deceive me by saying my side is the only side that's right. Now, some would
That's
say,
the
hey,
best definition I've ever heard of propaganda, Fletcher. I think you need to write that down. I've never heard it put that way.
I have a napkin next to me, so I don't know if it's because of so. And people had complained about me capping on the key. So, and I'm not even going to remember what I said, so forget it.
You'll remember. Well, it's something called recording, so we can go back.
What?
I
Oh
think it's
yeah.
a I think it's a great I think it's a great point you made. I never heard that. That's great. Keep going.
No, I just feel like David said it too. It's like Hollywood needs to clean its own room. Hollywood needs to. It's just
That's from Jordan Peterson. He always says,
right.
"Clean your
Yeah,
room."
you clean your own room.
Yeah.
They do need to clean their own room. They need
Yeah.
to. Uh, you know, if this was about, I mean, and this is a tired trope that people say, all right, great job, Hollywood. Now, haha, do it. Why don't you do it about a woman? Make Muhammad a woman, right?
Right.
This is the old kind of joke where you're kind of like, haha, you're
They
trying to
won't
own
do
the
that.
chuds,
They
but you
won't do
won't do
that.
that, right? So it's like, do it about a female rabbi. So you're like, you want to do that, so what are you doing? I mean, if you don't do the other things, you're what are you going to do that? Are you going to claim that Buddha was a woman too, right? I mean, what are you guys going to want to? I mean,
Well, they have female rabbis. What I think would be more offensive, perhaps, would be if you said, "Well, King David was actually female, or
yeah,
Moses was
right. Or
female."
Moses
All
was
your patriarchs, that's kind of what the Pope is for us, right? It's a pastor of the church, universal church. So you're trying to say something, and it's obviously advancing an agenda. It's so interesting you brought this up, Fletcher, because right now there is the synod on synodality. I might be saying that wrong. The synod that's happening in Europe right now, in which the Pope is there and looking like he's a kidnapped victim, while people kind of parade around doing weird kind of liturgical dances in front of him, and
Oh
also
yeah,
having
yeah.
meetings. And one of the things that's come up is some one kind of dissident nun. I guess I would say she's dissident, but I mean she's fully part of the church, so she's not excommunicated or anything, but she's pushing for female priests, something that's a non-starter. We've already had Pope John Paul II, who was very open-minded and very with the times, who said no, there won't be female priests, but yet they're still pushing it. And they obviously in this movie are trying to bring the point home on their side. I like what our buddy David is saying here. Female Islamic imams would never get made. That's true. That would be, they don't have the courage to do that. They just have the courage to make fun of the Catholic Church and take sides in what's already a kind of painful discussion, and people don't understand that's just not the role that God has for women in the church. It doesn't mean we have a lesser role. We don't. There are just as many female saints, if not more, than there are male ones. Women have a very elevated role in the church. No one is ranked higher than the mother of Jesus, the mother of God, Mary. No one competes with her or compares to her. It's not that women are lower. It's just that these are roles that have very important ontological details that connect with theology and spirituality. And one day we might again add to that list and talk about why that is, why women can't not be priests. It's just an ontological impossibility. It's a non-starter. It just can't happen. But Hollywood thinks they can just make this happen, and they know better than we do. And I agree with our buddy David. They would never do that. They would never have a secret imam and say that person is female. They can, but they feel okay with us doing it.
Yeah. No, it's disappointing, and it's it brings my ire because, like I said, I just feel that they think they're being subverted. I just think they're cowards. You know what I mean? You're just trying to spark a, I don't know. Uh, I'm so over. You had sent me something that somebody who is trying to do something different. So I guess how you sent me that. So Mel Gibson is developing a show about Christian fought off, the Muslim invader. So he's making something about the Crusades, right? Right. So he's trying to make something about
So interesting.
yeah.
That is
So this is
that's interesting.
right. So this is where something are like, okay, so it's a TV series in the work in which Christians are the heroes, but it's not coming out of major Hollywood studios. So it's, I guess he's working on a limited TV series about the Siege of Malta, which is an incredible story, only one to place in film. So and so this is interesting. So the Great Siege of Malta in 1565, centuries prior to that, the Crusade Order of Hospitalier warrior monks made a promise to defend Christendom against the most dangerous foes of Malta. They kept their promise and faced full onslaught of the powerful Ottoman Empire. Now, this is history, folks. I mean, this is kind of like what, this is a little bit different. This is not you're making the Pope a chick, right?
Right.
This is actually, this is what happened. And most of the times, granted, when we have stories about one of the, I like when people say, well, the Crusades or something. It's like, well, which crusade are you talking about? You're talking about the, because there was so many battles fought.
Yeah, there was more than one. Yeah.
Right. So if you go to Turkey and you watch television, you're going to watch a lot of, Suleiman, came out and he defeated the Christians, right? And victory, right? Because there was victories on both sides of that. But, they have no problem saying, hey, look at the awesome Muslim conquerors on those battles. But it seems like we sometimes, as Christians or Christian nations, we have a problem saying, hey, look, we actually won some battles too, right? We're never the heroes. I think there was a recent series where, or talk about the Templars, and they were painting in I never got to finish it, but it did seem like they were painting us in a very harsh light, which usually
really?
this TV shows do. They kind of subvert it. I mean, it's kind of like that TV show, The Chosen, where everybody's talking about, oh, it's so wonderful because it tells, Bible studies and history, but through the eyes of the quirky millennial or something. But it's filled with ideology that's counter Bible. It makes, it had some horrible thing about the Virgin Mother. And you're just like, what is this? Right. And in a sense, you have to be careful when everything is. That's why I kind of like the Mel Gibson's doing it, because whenever you're dealing with Christianity, they do always seem to want to add those little things that either never were in the story or also trying to subvert it, trying to do this whole subversion thing. So the Battle of Malta truly was an event.
Yeah, it was a true event. And I think it's great that we're getting other stories. One of the problems that we have with Hollywood right now is that they are recycling stories. They're recycling stories with race swapping and gender swapping to try to pretend like that makes it fresh and original. But all it does, it make it feel like tokenization, and which corrupts the original stories that we all love, that most of us like just fine the way they are. I don't need a black Luke Skywalker. As a little kid, I loved Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. It didn't matter to me that their skin wasn't tan. I just wore my hair in those little buns on the side, made my mother put my hair like that and wore a long cape. I mean, that was fine with me. I didn't need them to be changed to, get, a dark brown girl to play the roles. And so the problem is Hollywood's run out of stories. Here's a great story that people don't look at. The Great Siege of Malta in 1565, a pivotal battle in European history. The Ottoman Empire was defeated. And that's fabulous. That's something. Let's look at something different. I mean, I'm kind of tired of seeing the same World War II movies. Also, Fletcher, it seems like every season. I mean, it's a big war, yes, but good doggone it, do we have to have so? It seems like when it comes to people of color too, it's always a slavery movie. I'm tired of slavery movies. I'm tired of World War II movies. Sorry, no offense. But we've been there. Are there other periods of history?
No,
Um, there are,
the only
and
enemies of the world are Nazis. Oh, Yahtzees, sorry.
right, Yahtzees. Those are the only enemies of the world, and white slave owners. There's
Yes,
other,
that's it.
I mean, I love that David. Look at our buddy. Can you put this up, Fletch? Because he says
Okay.
he got ahead of me here. He said I was tired of America's World War II fetish back in the 1970s. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh, he
gosh.
goes away. He's like your
Yeah.
OG.
Yeah.
That's
So
OG.
he's OG tired of it.
OG
Every
tired of
single,
it.
I mean, wasn't there like, I think there was 5 of them that came out this year of like,
We should
now
count
it's
them,
like,
Fletcher. You think
we
it was 5
should.
this year? Let's count them.
I just don't know. Okay, so I know that this one is coming out. I think it's Glenn Close or something about a photographer,
Oh
like a
yeah,
feminist
I saw that.
photographer. We
Yeah.
saw the trailer on it, and it was her about her taking photographs during World War II about the horrors of the thing. And then there was another one coming in that they're doing. I I want to say it's Daily Wire maybe who are doing something about some implication of somebody that was involved in a pivotal strike in the war.
Oh my
But
goodness.
it's
All of
just
it's
like
so
everything is
miserable.
work. We had
It's
so
so
many things about that.
miserable. It's so miserable. I think I saw the trailer for that, Fletcher, with the photographer. And
Yeah,
although it starts off, if I recall it correctly, it's been a little while now. It starts off looking kind of maybe quirky and interesting. You have a female photographer during the
right.
40s, the late 30s, or what have you. And then it goes straight into the same tired stuff we've always keep hearing about, the World War II. It's just enough already. Like everything has to be told from that angle. Everything is about that. It's just so tiresome. I'm tired of it, honestly. And I mean, I wasn't tired of it since the 70s because I probably wasn't aware of it. And I was, not around really, but
Okay, so I got it wrong. So it's
I am tired of it now.
Kate Winsler.
Okay,
It's
Winslet.
Kate Winsler.
Winsler.
Yeah, that's the one it
Okay.
was called. Yeah, so I guess she's
That's the name of the actress or the name of
no, the name of the actress. She
Oh,
was in
okay.
Titanic.
That's right.
The
Yeah, of
story of an
course.
American photographer, Lee Miller, fashion model who became a acclaimed war correspondent for Vogue magazine. So now Vogue has to get like, look at what we did.
Right.
You
They
know?
want
So,
it's just virtue signaling for them too.
right.
Right. I mean, so is this movie the one that's coming out, Fletcher? It looks like it's an old movie from here,
Well, I don't know.
2023, but
We
it's
saw
just
this
coming
trailer
out.
when we went to the movies just recently.
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah. So it's like,
We're gonna start reviewing movies too, right, Fletch?
yeah, we totally are because
We should make a point that we will not review a World War II movie. We've had enough. It is a fetish. I agree. It's a fetish. At some
it
point, you
does
have to
seems
let
like
it
it's a
go.
fetish now.
You
Yeah.
gotta let it go. I don't know how we're gonna keep doing this. It's enough already. How many times are we gonna tell this story and there's some good ones. I'm sure there's some good ones. I mean, I liked shoot, there's so many of them. I think we really should count them. But that one, Life is Beautiful, is probably a decent one.
Yeah.
A lot of people like that. I like, was it The Monuments Men? That was pretty interesting. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
that was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so
All
many
right.
of them though. I mean, you just can't
So
even begin.
this is just a
We've had
cursory
enough.
look, right?
Yeah.
So these are World War II movies coming out. So there's the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. That's the one with Henry Cavill that came out recently. There's Masters of the Air, which I heard is a real good series on Apple TV about fighter jets or fighter planes in that area where they were propless. Another one's called Into the White, about a British-German airmen who are stranded in the wilderness after a battle in Normandy. The Woman with Red Hair, a movie about a lost student who joins the Dutch resistance during World War II, becomes the Yahtzee's most wanted. And Hatred, a movie about a Polish girl who is forced to marry a welfare widower but falls in love with an Ukrainian boy from the same village.
But wait, is this
These
all
are
from
just
this year?
2024.
Are you serious?
These are just all 2024.
Are you serious?
No. These are just. I mean, I think Ministry of Gentleman Warfare is already out on video, and Masters of Air is already out on video. But the other two, I think, are coming out. Yeah.
You named 5 movies that just came out this year involving World War II.
Yes. Yeah.
5 just this year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what's this about? This is not normal.
So yeah, somebody even made a list on Reddit. I don't know. So now we're going down the rabbit hole, right? So these are World War One and World War II movies releasing in 2024. All right, I'm not saying anything. It's 2024. So
That's insane.
So
That's too many
supposedly
movies.
this is the list, right? So like I said, Masters of the Air, that was already released. That was I think on Apple TV. I heard it's a really good movie. All right.
Which one?
Masters of the Air. It's a series. I think it's like a TV
okay.
series. It's really good, supposedly. I heard great things
We're
about
not saying that they're not good. Some of them are
Nobody's
good.
saying that they're not good. Right.
Just
right.
How many do you need? How many World War II movies do we need?
Right. So then there's this from
In the same year.
Child with Love. Berlin 1942 has a member of the anti-Yazis. She falls in love with another member, Hans, who spend summer together until they get caught by the Gestapo, in prison, blah, 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 whatever. That one's released. So this is, by the way, this is, to be fair, this is World War One and Two, but really, come on, World War One was right after World War One and then World War Two. So then this other one called La Luga Note, anticipating crisis about the World War One regime. L'Astoria, false single mother of 2 sons who hides her Jewish heritage to fight against poverty. Lost City, Amsterdam, something, Bloody Hundreds. We Were the Lucky Ones, released. Benny Hill, Bolero, Escape from Germany. I mean, what?
Wow.
So those were the ones that. Okay, I'm sorry. So those were the ones released. Lost City was the released body. And We Were the Lucky Ones released, right? These are the ones announced, meaning they're not out yet. So Be Friends Nilsson, whatever, 2 Jewish classmates separated from Sweden, whatever. That one's just announced, and these are the ones in pre-production. That means they're just starting out, right?
Okay.
So Big and Hill and Bolero are in Escape from Germany. Are pre-product no. So this one is just on pre. Begging Hill is just on pre. Yeah, that one's just on pre. Then Bolero's a post, meaning I guess they're just editing, right? So this one is in post. This one is in post. This one is completed, Finding Hannah. About 3,000 Jewish men who were gassed in Auschwitz.
Didn't we see a trailer on that one?
Did we? I don't know. Well, that's the other thing. Who knows? Because all these
they all look the same.
They all look the same after a while. They all have the gray tint. They all have the gray tint, and it's almost like, well, okay. So this is a pre-production. This is a Chinese one. So even the Chinese are getting into it, and the Swedish and stuff. So this one, Gongsu's in post-production. I can't say that. Can you say that? You could.
Landesverräter.
Oh, such a ridiculous. So that was post-production. The hope of becoming a great singer in Germany, the poor vagabond, Urs, whatever, sells Swish, military information to secret, whatever. So this one, 688, is complete. 855 women joined the war to fix the 3-year backlog and undelivered mail. Because that's
interesting. I like that. Now I like the idea of mail. That seems cool,
right? Faced with discrimination, and a country devastated by war, they managed to sort more than 17 million pieces of mail ahead of time.
Okay, sign me up for that one. I'll see that.
Okay, so this one's Tyler Perry, of course. You
That
know
is
your people.
interesting. I know my people, but I didn't know that at the time. It just sounds good, male. I'm like, that sounds it. That's a take. At least with that one, Fletcher, it's a take we haven't seen before. As far as war, devastation, people being rounded up, all of that we have seen before. We've heard it before. The battles, all of them, all of them. The only ones that are somewhat interesting are the unique stories. That's what we mentioned at the beginning of this. Like, I liked Life is Beautiful because, it tells a very kind of unique kind of story of what might
Right.
happen if someone pretended, if someone were, entertaining a child that, and hiding, a child, what's really happening is not really what's happening, etc. That's pretty interesting. The Monuments Men is interesting because I think they're trying to save art that's being looted
Right.
by the Yahtzees. That's also interesting. The idea of mail having a backlog and not being able to be delivered, that's also rather interesting. That's not something you hear about every day. So yeah, I would see that one's the only one of
Okay.
the, no, because it's different. I still think
Yeah.
there's too many of these World War II movies. There's other stories to be told, but gosh, I never
Right.
heard about a backlog of mail during the war. That makes sense. That's
Yeah, no.
interesting.
So this is Kerry Washington, and she's it's a period, it's World War II now, so and it does look interesting. So yeah, okay. So
That's
we
the only
found the
one.
one. We found the one. So all right. So that was 688. This ridiculous, brother. So then there's announced the 34th Battalion. So I guess Australia, Deathel Gallipoli, a group of friends forced to choose between lives at home due to France. Blah 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 blah. So that one's announced. The final 45 is in post production. Northern France, the Ministry of Gentlemen Accord. That was complete. That's the one that Henry Cavill Superman was on. So this the Nightingale is announced. 2 lives of sisters living in France are torn apart. The onset of World War II. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh my goodness, it just goes
So
on and
post
on.
production, it does. The Swedish Connection post production. The Tattooist of Auschwitz post production. Oh, interesting. But see the big star, Harvey Keitel, the Tower of Strength, post production, Hunter Chow, refuge, blah 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 blah. The volunteer, of Mountain Rescue, that one's complete, I guess. Journey America to Austria. The WASP announced during World War II. General talks legendary aviatrix Jackie Conrad to form an all-female paramilitary aviation organization called the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, or WAPS. So, another ladies of war thing. So, there you have it. Did we even count them? What is it?
That's just this year.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All right, so 24 are supposed to be releasing in 2024 or around that area.
24 for 24.
24 for 24.
That's too many World War II movies.
Shut up and give me 24, son.
Now, David says he saw the last World War II related movie he watched was something called Sisu. I never even heard of that.
Oh, yeah, Sisu was awesome.
But I never heard of that. What is that about? What is that? I don't know that.
So that one, I think it's about, I don't know, David. Was it a Finnish? I think it was like a Finnish man who was done with the war, and he just wanted to, like strike it rich finding gold, right? And it's like a very violent movie. Yes, it was a Finnish John Wick. It was Finnish. So he was out there just he finds gold, and the Yahtzees who are evacuating because the war's lost, they see that he has gold, and they try to kill him, and he kills all of them back, right? And it's very over the top, very visuals. It's a very interesting movie. It's kind of like a fun. It was fun.
It
I can
doesn't
say I
sound
had a fun
fun.
time watching.
It
Yeah.
doesn't say. Oh, he says it's a finished John Wick.
Yeah. It's a
Oh, I
finished
get
John
it.
Wick.
That was a really good. That. There you go. That's your 2-second elevator
That
pitch. I totally get
elevator.
it.
All
Now I
right,
get
so we
it.
have this. Yeah, it's the finish John Wick, and
It's a
it
finished
is
John
like
Wick.
that. He's just
Okay.
almost like superhuman and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's out there taking out people and left and right, and
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's that's what we're talking about. That's a noir movie, right? So when you have a
Yeah.
noir movie, you can get away with certain things, like you were saying. In a way, the Monument Men were a little bit like that. Now this one would carry uh what do you call it? Kerry Washington doing the women delivering mail thing. Uh, that's an interesting take. So, but the whole like, oh my gosh, it's just insufferable.
It's
Uh,
insufferable. I
hey,
don't
what's
know if
up,
it's
bud?
meant to depress us or what. Oh, Latino slant in the house. Woohoo. What?
Yeah, it is gory. It's a gory movie. Like I said, yeah, it's got that noir feel to it. It was like how to say it? Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Are
it's
you
just bloody. It's just kind of bloody and stuff, and it's very, very male
I think I
centered kind of
did hear
action.
about this film now. You're right. And it did look gory. I think that's why I didn't want
It
to
was
see it.
gory. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right. The
yeah,
finished
it's
John Wick.
definitely rated R. So you're not gonna watch it. You don't watch rated R movies.
No, I really
Uh,
don't.
so yeah,
Especially ones that have gory violence. But is this the one where
yeah.
it takes place? So is it just on an island and the people are fighting or something? Is that what it is? Is that
Yeah. So
not really?
he's no, because he's trying to get away. Um, he's one that keeps his gold, right?
Oh, okay. It sounds like it's
And
complicated.
it's not complicated. It's just he finds gold. The Yahtzees find him, and they try to take his gold, and they kill his horse, and then
Oh,
he
okay,
starts to
okay.
kill him. So it's the same in
Maybe
John
I
Wick. They
did.
kill his
Okay.
dog. In Sisu, they kill uh his
His horse.
horse. Right.
But the thing is, Fletcher, what is that movie? We got to find this movie. There was another
Which one?
movie. I don't know if it was Finnish, but it was another, maybe it's Icelandic, another one of these sort of the upper European peninsula movies up there where it's
Upper
cold,
European peninsulas.
Scandinavian,
Right.
where I think it all takes place literally in a lighthouse. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
And it's also
yeah.
apparently very masculine, very gory, like Sisu.
Yeah.
I don't think it's World War II
So I think
related.
it's Robert Ayers, and who's got the Nosferatus coming out. It's
Oh,
got
okay.
he redid the German classic,
Okay.
and I think that one's called The Lighthouse, and that's about two men in a lighthouse,
Ah,
kind of going nuts,
that's it.
and stuff. Yeah, but see, it is a World War II movie, but is it a
Oh, it
World War II?
is again?
Well,
Oh
no. What
my
I'm saying
word.
is it? I mean, it's in the no. So this one's in the New England in the 1890s.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Okay.
so we're
Okay.
safe
It's not.
there, guys. We're safe.
Oh, Latino Slant doesn't care for this one. I wish we could get him on to find out why. It doesn't look that good to me, but I heard really good things about it.
Yeah, that's it's one of those things where you kind of like either love it or hate it thing.
Yeah.
And I know people who don't like it, and I know people who like swear by it. And there's okay. So Robert Eggers is a really kind of like funky director. He does this kind of like very noir, very I mean, you can see it there.
Why don't you
just the
explain?
visual.
You're right. This literally looks like film noir. Can you explain a little bit to us about film noir? Since you've
Okay.
been saying, by the way, you're not pronouncing the French right.
I'm not. I'm never.
You've been saying
very
noir. It's noir.
I'm sorry,
Noir.
noir. French noir.
Oh my gosh. Latino Slant says it's very disturbing, and like what you're showing us is very disturbing. Okay, first of all,
Right.
tell us what noir
So
means.
they basically
And
so
then
noir
maybe-
just means dark in
Yeah.
dark in French.
Right.
And I know I'm forbidden from speaking French, all right? But
I'll let
So
it pass this time.
it's kind of like I think they both find, if I'm correct, I mean it's been a while. They both find a some kind of treasure, something like that, and then they kind of descends into madness into it.
Okay.
And it's very like close performances. You have like this very moody type of darkness kind of. It's dark, and then the darkness envelops them in a sense. It's just
Well
descents
put.
into madness,
Well
right?
put. Yeah,
Not
is it?
trying to be like
Yeah.
lyrical with it,
Yeah, it does
but
have a feeling of being of just being disturbed, and it's disturbing. I definitely can
yes,
see that.
it's
And
disturbing.
this
Yeah,
one is quite literally film noir. It's a very not just dark in terms of its subject matter and the psychological thriller nature of it, but also
right.
it's dark in color. Like you can hardly see the scenes. They say it can be difficult to even distinguish what's happening. And you see right now that what you're showing us is like kind of somber with ombre lighting, black and white. And so it really
Yeah,
is quite dark. But the
yeah.
good news is it's not about World War II. And we said we are done with so many World War II movies. We've had enough. I'm also done with the slavery movies. I want to see other
Oh my gosh,
amazing things
yeah,
that people have done between those two things, between slavery and World War II. I think I love that, that Battle of Malta 1536 that
yeah,
Mel Gibson's going to be doing a movie about, because thank you for doing something other than that. Let's see about the Crusades, Inquisition. I mean, how many other historical events have there been besides those two? I want to see other movies.
yeah.
So,
I mean,
or even like this one. I mean, it's disturbing. I don't know if I would want to watch this one in the lighthouse, but I like the idea of an interior thriller, a brand new kind of story. I don't know. I think I may have heard that I don't know if it was a true story that is based on, or they said it was built on like one of those like Norse story tales or something you tell around the fire. There's some kind of,
yeah,
but either way, you know what? It's a new story. Give us a new story. I mean, stop trying to recycle old ones and changing just the race and gender of the people who are in them, or just retelling the same thing over and over again. Let's have a fresh take on new. There's so many things out there. We can have movies that can go on for centuries on all the other things we haven't even looked at.
yeah,
I mean, between Adam and Eve to today, there's been a lot of things happening with human history. There's a lot of stories, both fictional and non-fictional, that can be told. So we don't have to keep going back to, you know, World War II. Oh, Latino Slant has a suggestion. They need to remake Hell to Eternity, true World War II story. I'm going to have to see Hell to Eternity. I don't know that one. Chicano Marine. Oh, interesting. That does sound like it's an interesting story. It's weird I never even heard the title though. Hell to Eternity. We'll have to check that one out, Fletcher. And
yeah.
maybe that should be remade, especially because I never heard of it.
Yeah, so I guess it was the 1960s. When
Ah,
his adoptive Japanese American family is sent to
huh?
Manzanar after Pearl Harbor, young Chicano enlists in the
Interesting.
Marines to become a hero in Battle of Saipan. Oh, wow.
It's a Chicano Marine. It's a true story. So it really
Yeah, yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if there's a book version that I could check out.
Oh, there's probably a book. There's got to be.
Well, you know what? You know what we're going to be watching this weekend then. Maybe next
Oh
weekend. I
my
think this
gosh, here
weekend
we
is
go.
kind of busy.
How are you going to
I have a
watch this
wedding to
weekend when you're
attend.
living this weekend?
I know. I have to yeah, maybe next weekend. We should see this one. You think is it available, Fletcher? Is that
Yeah,
on
no, I can. Yeah, it's on
available for
it's on Prime.
viewing? That looks like something I need to check out. That's one maybe that would be, at least that was an early one, 50, 60 years ago, as
Yeah,
opposed to some of the ones we were playing. Oh, but it wasn't played by a Chicano actor though. I was thinking, you know what? That's funny. Latino Slant said that because when you brought up the picture, Fletcher, I was like, he's kind of fair skinned. That's a very light skinned Latino
yeah.
Chicano. I
I'm
was like,
shocked they had
that's why they don't
Japanese
exist.
people.
That's probably a white lady too with some makeup. They would have black people like that too. They had blackface back then too. They'd be like, have some white person be like,
Yeah.
oh, they're black. So wasn't it really?
It's like,
So, yeah, we should remake it this time. Have actually Chicano actors. If
well,
we could do
this one
that.
goes into the remake,
Yeah,
category, right?
yeah.
So, well, also it's hardly Chicano, but it's Chicano by association, right?
Because he's from East LA. I think that
Yeah,
does
so
make you Chicano.
he's had a few tacos in him, so it's all right. There's
Yeah,
no
I
way
don't
you
know.
can get away from
That's honorary.
that's
Yeah,
honorary.
that's honorary. He's from East LA. That's honorary.
So,
If you've
yeah.
ever been there, you know.
Oh, this could be interesting, but yeah, it's this whole thing with the World War II movies, man. It's just crazy.
Well, that mean listen, they did some that were good, but at this point, listen, it's 2024. You said there were 24 World War II related movies coming out just this year alone.
That's what it seems.
I
Yeah,
think that tells you that's been saturated. Okay. There's a lot of other stories. There's so many things that's been happening, both the United States and abroad. We have a lot of fodder for good movies. We don't have to keep going back to that same well. Let's tell other stories.
yeah. No, fully. And but speaking of telling other stories, though, we kind of went off on our own story in a sense, and now we're over budget.
Okay.
In the story of time that you had told me that we had to already be getting out of
Yeah,
here.
we gotta bounce, Fletcher.
We gotta bounce. But first, before we do it, I did want to share with you guys our charity of the month.
Oh yes.
Once again,
Yes.
it is St. Mary's. So the Dominican nuns of Marbury, Alabama. They are wonderful nuns. You can write to them if you need prayer. You don't even need to send them anything. If you need prayer and something, you need a breakthrough.
Yes.
Right? If you need
Yes.
a breakthrough in something, something that you've been kind of watching, wishing for, or something, if you want to test God and see if God is real, I can tell you nothing better than to send loving, beautiful nuns a request for prayer.
Yep.
Because these ladies have set their lives aside to praising God, to living a modest life of poverty, to helping people out all around their community, and just being beautiful. And they've prayed for us. We've asked for a breakthrough in different things, and it's come through. I can't tell you enough. Praying nuns. And if we talk about, how the Catholic Church is against women, I tell you this: we revere our loving nuns, our Mother Mary. I want to see other places that have as many saints that are women and doctors of the church as our faith. And these nuns will pray for you. I mean, they will pray for you, and you will get a breakthrough, because they have
Absolutely.
that. They do have that gift of prayer and suffering for God. And I mean, if you get anything you can give, it's appreciated. I mean, just recently, I think what did they say? So I think the well pump has to be fixed. Or
Oh
something
yeah.
recently, I
So
think.
I think right, yeah. I think what they sent us was that they were grateful because we did send them a donation and that they were using it to repair the well that they use. They live very simply. They live kind of in the country. They grow their own food and vegetables. They repair almost everything themselves, etc. So this is one of those things that if you send it to them, you can be assured it's to put to good use, and they'll write you back about it. I do want to note that Latino Slant did mention also another story that we should look at, which I've never heard of. Loreta
Oh, okay.
Velasquez, a Civil War double agent. Now that is intriguing.
See, now we're piling
And
onto the World War II stories.
No. This is not World War II. This is Civil War. That goes further
Civil
back.
War. Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think we've had a lot of stories on that. We've had the only one I can think of is Glory with Denzel Washington, and I think he got an Academy Award for it. I don't know.
No.
There's probably more for Civil War.
Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Okay, on that note, we need to take off.
Oh, okay.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, not a
Thank
true
you.
story, Fletcher.
I don't know what you're saying. All I hear is that Fletcher's awesome, and this is great. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you all.
So thank you guys
Rebel.
for joining us, and
Have to see that.
we'll leave you here, and stay tuned next week. And thank you so much.
Thank you.